So guys, what's going on? I think you guys know that, I'm a boxing channel, but I like to report on UFC fights, although I've started to get into UFC a little bit. I'm not a huge UFC fan. I've made some videos previously when I've seen some brutal knockouts. There's been another brutal knockout on the weekend. Paul Craig got brutally knocked out in the first round against I think it's Alonzo Menfield, the unbeaten American. The Scottish man suffering a heavy or bad knockout, a right hand that brutally knocked him out. And then he took a couple of punches while he was down, and obviously the referee jumped in. There wasn't obviously much of a fight. I know that I think Craig missed a kick, and then he got caught savagely with the right hand. I think it was 1 minute 39 into the first round. It was a first round knockout, so there wasn't a lot that happened. Menfield got to work. He's unbeaten, and Paul Craig has, in his last 7 bouts, lost 4 times. The UFC is a sport where I think a lot of people like the UFC because we get to see brutal knockouts, we get to see action, and like I said, with the way we are as humans, we're barbaric. We like to see brutal knockouts. In the UFC, I've seen some really brutal knockouts, and you get it quite regular. In boxing, you can get it from time to time, but in UFC, you get these brutal knockouts, either if it's not with a punch, it's with a leg kick. I've seen some really bad knockouts in UFC, and this was just another example of somebody getting brutally knocked out. If I'm totally honest, I don't know a whole heap about both of these fighters, but it seems to me that, this unbeaten Americans must be, obviously he's a prospect, he must be very good. And obviously Craig, he's a good Scottish fighter from what I was reading, but, he has suffered 4 defeats in his last 7 fights. So it seems to me like he's not exactly on a winning streak of being unbeaten for a prolonged period of time. But UFC is that type of sport. It's very difficult to stay unbeaten because there's so many different aspects to UFC. There's kicking, there's wrestling on the floor, and there's also stand-up fighting. There's so much to UFC. It's very difficult to stay unbeaten. That's why someone like Khabib Nurmagomedov, it's exceptional what he's done staying unbeaten for so long, because of the fact that he's so good at one discipline and he's not bad at the rest. He's very difficult to beat, and he's an animal in the area that he is good at, in wrestling. I'm taking you down to the floor. He's an absolute animal. But yeah, it's very difficult. UFC is not like boxing. It's very hard because boxing is just one aspect. It's just standing up punching. You could be a very good defensive fighter, very hard to hit, and you're not got to worry about kicks. You're not got to worry about getting put to the ground. With UFC, there's a lot you have to combat. You might be good standing up, but you might be terrible at defending kicks, or you might be terrible at wrestling on the ground. So then you're at a disadvantage. So that's why UFC is a very, very tough sport. But I like to watch brutal knockouts. I don't obviously like to see anyone badly hurt, but obviously we all love to see knockouts. That's why we watch sport. We get that thrill, and UFC definitely has a lot of thrills with the sport. There's definitely a lot of heart in the mouth stuff, especially if you're a hardcore fan, or you're supporting somebody, or you're a McGregor fan, or you're a Khabib fan. Your heart in the mouth stuff, because at any given time your lights could be switched off like that. But yeah, what did you guys make of the knockout? Paul Craig getting knocked out. Leave your thoughts, guys, in the comment section below. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.